Hey there everybody, Chris from Orlando here, and today we're having a little friendly competition. If you follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/ChrisFromOrlandoCM, you'll know that over the past week I've been doing a survey on which rides people prefer. And that's what we're doing today, as we put 10 rides from Disney World and Disneyland head to head. My criteria for judging these attractions will be theming, how fun they are to experience, as well as personal opinion. But I'll be sure to state what I like about both attractions. I'm only looking at rides that are similar in terms of the ride itself, but not a complete copy like Star Tours. So today, we'll see if East Coast rules the world, or if West Coast is indeed Best Coast, as they compete in a polite and well-spoken Battle Royale! Let's start with one of the most iconic rides at any Disney park, Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, both of these rides are amazing on so many different levels, from the costumes, to the set pieces, to the song and the smells. Needless to say, there are few rides anywhere that can match just how iconic either version of the ride is. But that being said, the point still has to go to Disneyland's version because there's just so much more to it. You see more of the pirates' remains amongst their treasure, you see more of the attack on the town. Hell, you might even get a free roll of someone eating at Blue Bayou who's feeling generous. Disney World's Pirates is great and all, but Disneyland's version adds another 30% on top of that, so it gets the points here. Sticking with rides in New Orleans Square, let's take a look at everyone's favorite, Haunted Mansion. Again, both rides are simply incredible in their own right. Between the two designs of the mansion itself, I actually prefer the Disney World mansion, especially how they light it at night to make it look like it has eyes and fangs. That's really cool. Also, this version has the library, music room, and the staircase rooms. Great additions to be sure, but not only does Disneyland have the Hatbox Ghost, but also the stretching room really gives you that sinking feeling because, well, the elevator is making you sink. Also, the loading area is cooler. So this is pretty close, but the point does have to go to Disneyland for a very important reason. It has Nightmare Mansion. The fact that it's able to transform for a quarter of the year into this wonderful overlay while Disney World's version doesn't, gives it the edge. Dialing it down to a less iconic ride, get set to get wet, Yankee. It's Collier River Rapids versus Grizzly River Run in the battle of the rides I really don't do because I don't want to get that wet. So both rides are mostly the same. You're in a giant raft and you get soaked as you go whitewater rafting, and they have surprisingly extensive backstories. But it's with that in mind that the point will go to Collier River because on Grizzly, you don't really get that story on the ride. It's mostly just rocks with a few instances of camping equipment abound. And sure, Collie is mostly jungle with statues abound, but at least you get that logging set piece so you understand logging bad. Plus the jungle is more interesting than rock. That's right, I said it. Speaking of jungle, let's talk the Jungle Cruise. While it's hard to judge the ride without taking the quality of the skipper in mind, but we have to, otherwise this entire entry would just be, I was the skipper at Disney World, and I'm pretty alright. Chris from Orlando, he's pretty alright. Please subscribe. Both have jokes that the others don't, and mostly have the same set pieces if only in different places. But here's the thing. Look at the Schweitzer Falls. It's pitiful, right? Who would get excited over the backside of that? That falls is at Disneyland, so the winner is Disney World here. Speaking of places I previously worked at, let's talk Space Mountain. You can't really judge it based on speed because both only go about 30 miles per hour, which ain't shit. But hey, it looks like they both have some kind of layover. Disneyland has Hyperspace Mountain, which is all Star Wars, and Ghost Galaxy, in which a demonic galaxy comes to life and attacks you, which might be the most metal thing I ever say on this channel. Disney World has rock music and either no lights or admittedly really cool lights, but they're also really seizure-inducing. Yeah, point goes to Disneyland. Still at places I used to work, let's talk Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger Spin versus Astro Blasters. They both have a lot of the same targets and re-ride value, but there are a few key differences. In Astro Blasters, each target is a different shape which tells you how many points you'll get for hitting it. Now, you may or may not like this depending on how much hand-holding you like, but I think it offers a more clear version than shoot at something and hope it gives you a bunch of points. But I'm giving the point to Astro Blasters for 2 reasons. Number 1, there's always a visible target. It's not like it's Spin where you have that long tunnel with only 1 point to shoot at that gives points that you can't even see. Number 2, you can actually pick up your laser gun and point it. Oh my god, that helps so much! Although Astro does lose some points because it put a target on Zurg after he's been captured, which I think might be a war crime, I'm not sure. Now we have a real problem because we have my favorite ride at Disney World and Disneyland up against each other. It's Dinosaur versus Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. And this had to be my hardest choice for the list. Indiana Jones has a better queue, and the giant temple is simply an awe-inspiring set piece. Not to mention, it's based on a movie that people actually care about. Ayo! But as a whole, I think Dinosaur has a bit more going for it. You remember the Carnotaurus, the Sauropod, the bigger dino choking on the little dino? And yes, Indiana Jones has the giant snake in the boulder, but a lot of it takes place in complete darkness as well. Also, Dinosaur has Dr. Seeker, who turns the whole ride into a giant meme factory, so that alone gets to the point. Now let's talk about one that still rages heavily in the comments sections of ride-through videos. Twilight Zone Tower of Terror versus Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. I don't really do drop rides at all, but I do enjoy going through the queues before taking the chicken exit. And both of these queues are amazing, with so many references to the story and the universe that the ride takes place in. I love the music for both rides, especially the awesome mix for Guardians, the pre-shows, except for the part that makes me feel like I'm plummeting to my death. But the point has to go to Tower of Terror, because in terms of what the ride is, an out-of-control elevator, Tower of Terror's story fits better than what Guardians does. Plus, it has the spook factor. I really like them both, if only from the safety of my couch. Next, we have Test Track versus Radiator Springs Racers. With both of these rides focusing on speed, at least for the last 45 seconds, it's worth taking a look at their speed. Test Track is the fastest ride at Disney World with a top speed of 65 miles an hour, while Radiator Springs only goes 40 miles an hour. A pretty significant speed difference, but can the charm of the rest of the ride make up for it? Certainly so, because even though I'm not a big fan of the Cars franchise, I have to admit that Radiator Springs Racers has a lot of charm. And while it might be hearsay to say, I do prefer the neon of the new Test Track over the grays of the old one, but neither of those versions quite match what Racers is doing in that charm department. And since you're only going really fast for a small portion of the ride, the story it tells will give Radiator Springs the win here. Finally, today we have Rock and Roller Coaster versus the Incredi Coaster. Both have launches and are the only rides where you go upside down in their respective resorts. Rock and Roller Coaster's launch is more intense and has more inversions. But as we just saw with Radiator Springs, that alone is not enough to get you the win. At the Incredi Coaster, Jack has gone missing and the Incredibles scramble to find him. A fine enough story that, unfortunately, is mostly confined to the tunnels at the top of the hills and some audio coming through. Whereas with Rock and Roller Coaster, even if they are just neon cardboard cutouts, you're constantly in the story of speeding down an LA highway trying to get to an Aerosmith concert as you sit by signs and have Aerosmith blasting in your ear. Plus, you know, it's Aerosmith, so yeah, it just barely squeaks out the win here. Alright, let's tally up our final scores and we get a die! Yes, I know, it's kinda anticlimactic, but I mean, look at these rides. Look at all these rides. They're all incredible, and that's why Disney is a leader in the theme park industry. I'll be sure to cover the key differences between both parks in the future, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Chris from Orlando, and... Huh? What's going on?
Oh, you poor fool. You thought you could hide from me on your puny channel. That you could get away with only mentioning me once. You of all people should know that I have Chris from Orlando's too.
Who are you?
Someone who was content to let you be until you said that Disney was the leader in the theme parks industry. Now I challenge you to a duel next week, and you will see that victory is universal.
Well, that can't be good. Take care, y'all. One love. Don't hurt nobody.